Okay. Hi, everyone. Many of you know me by Pash, Yvonne, Bonnie, Mama Josh, Mama Shakina. But today I am coming as Mama Josh, a parent of an autistic child. The goal of this series of videos, because they're going to be more than one, it's going to be a series of videos, is to share my story with the world, with the goal of helping people who have just realized that their child or their loved one's child is on the spectrum. That is one. The second goal is to build a community of like-minded individuals who find themselves in this situation of raising a child on the spectrum. And there's so many goals to creating a community. You get to meet people, you get support in terms of emotional support, because this journey is not easy and you need as many friends and family and people surrounding you as you go along this journey. So that's the goal of having a community. And the third and most important goal of this series of videos is for people to actually have the courage to embrace the situation and to see beyond the diagnosis of autism. And so I will start from the beginning. My son's currently 12 years old. As I said, his name is Joshua. And so with Josh, I had a very smooth pregnancy. I found out very early that I was pregnant. I was about 8 weeks or under 8 weeks when I realized that I was expectant with Josh. I had an amazing pregnancy, very little, minimal morning sickness. And it was great. And it was, I had waited 6 years before I had him. So there's a 6-year gap between him and his sister. So it was pretty different from my first experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. Fast forward, my baby was born healthy, no complications, natural vaginal birth. I was in labor for like about 24 to about 28 hours. I don't know. I got lost in the time, but it was more than a day. And that was pretty normal because with the sister, I was in labor for like about 20 hours. So it wasn't like any different. Anyway, so Josh was born cold winter morning. He came out 50 centimeters, about 3.2 kilos. He cried when he was born. He was just amazing, amazing, amazing. And we got to take him home within a couple of days. There were no complications, so we got to take him home quite early. And so my baby it was amazing to have my baby. He slept throughout the night at 3 months. He fed, he gained weight when he needed to gain weight. And so he hit his milestones when he was required to hit his milestones. Around the time that he was about a year, when children typically, are walking or crawling and cooing and all that, he did that. My son cooed for a very long time. He used to say mama, he used to say mimi, he used to say papa. He would smile when you'd call his name. He would come to you when you would call him. And so nothing really seemed odd at the time. And then fast forward to I got pregnant around after I turned about a year, 3 months, 4 months. I found out I was pregnant. I had the baby when my baby was about to turn 2. So his brother was born in July and Joshua turned 2 in August. So they have a 23-month difference. And everything was great, But when I came home from the hospital with a new baby, I noticed that my son had gone quiet. Somehow he had started regressing. His speech had, the few words that he was saying, he stopped saying them. He stopped being a happy baby. Like, he wasn't smiling when you would call him. He wasn't very playful. He became more of playing with his toys. And I thought, I just chopped it up to, there's a new baby in the house. He's going through the new change. I'm going through the new change. Everybody's just going through the new change, so it's all right. We'll give it a bit of time. And then it got to a point where I was not able to handle the infant and a toddler, and so Josh had to go to creche. And it was while he was at creche that a child psychologist was actually engaged, because one of the problems that they were encountering with Josh was that when they would call him, he wouldn't respond to his name. When the other kids would go out to play, he wouldn't play with the other kids. And so when the child psychologist was called upon to assess the child and determine as to whether it is an issue with the child or is it an issue with the home setting, it was discovered that my child was beginning to exhibit autism-like characteristics. The secluding himself, the not being able to play with other children, the not responding to his name, and even how he played with toys. He did not play with toys in a functional way. He would line up toys. They would be lined up from one corner of the house to another, or from one place to another. So even the way he exhibited play, or he played, was very different. And so the journey of autism began at that point, where we were told that this child needs to go for further assessment. At that point, any parent who hears the word autism for the first time, and knowing very well that you've got a neurotypical child, or what we call normal child before, you don't want to hear that. You simply don't want to hear the word autism, because you already have another child who's normal. So why would this child be any different? Genetics are basically the same. They're not. So, his dad and I were like, yo, we're not listening to this child psychologist. There's so much that's going on. There's a new baby in the house. My ex-husband speaks Lingala and Swahili, and his Swahili is broken. I speak Swahili from Kenya, which is very different from Swahili from DRC. My son was going to a creche in South Africa where they spoke Afrikaans, they spoke Siposa, isiZulu. And so it was just like, how every